KaPow!
All right. Okay, I am Kurt Clendenin. We are here with the KaPow Intergalactic Film Festival 2021. We are talking with Eamon Hegarty and Nicholas Rohrman, and these guys did Constellation Quest. And I just think it's such a fun movie, and it has so many little Easter eggs that I feel that maybe you guys have woven in there for the careful viewer to be able to find. And I saw a lot of references, like little winks and little nods. Like for instance, the spaceships. I saw some Ed Wood vibes in there.
Hmm.
Did you guys see Plan 9 from Outer Space?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
have. It's been a while, but
Oh,
yes,
dude, it's
yeah.
just perfect. And you see the fishing line and everything. I mean, it's like it's so great because the way that you created this, it was with the same spirit of someone who was doing the best they could with what they had, and just and trying to make this high tech sci-fi episode. And I was just fascinated with how you guys were able to use miniatures, well, macro lenses and stuff. And so you shrink
Mhm.
the people down with green screen, and now you got yourself a
Yep.
whole environment that was put together with what looked like maybe cardboard or something.
Yeah.
You
Oh
guys
yeah.
want to
The
talk
whole
more about
all
that?
Oh, for sure. We definitely approached this with that mindset. We had a budget. We only had $3,000 to make this film. And we thought if we're going to make a sci-fi thing, we know with only $3,000, we're not going to make, something that looks like Star Trek.
We need to
Right,
play
So
right,
into it,
so
play to
so
our
right.
we
strengths.
we worked it into the story, the fact that it's going to look a little crummy and it's going to look a little rough around the edges. And
Right,
we
right.
really try to lean into that as much as we could.
In
Well,
in a way, the whole thing is an Easter egg. And we we only shot for a bar that we knew we could achieve, and I think that the product looks intentional, which was something that we went into the whole time. Like we wanted to make sure that all the cheesiness and everything was it was very clear that we intentionally did it
mm-hmm,
to
mm-hmm.
to establish that kind of feeling. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because it just reminds me of like those shows where there was all cameras are running, three or four cameras are running, and you got some director in the booth going, "Oh, camera A, camera B, cut to," and so it was interesting because there were some shots in there. It was so cool how the camera was like and like trying to find focus on this guy over here, and then he walks into frame, and then and then it backs up and it gets, and so it was really cool what you guys were doing with the camera effects. Now, did both of you guys direct this together?
Yeah,
Yes.
to an extent. Officially, Eamon was the director and I was the producer. But we shared a lot of the same roles. It was just for like official titling purposes, I guess. But we both wrote it, we both directed, we both produced, and we both edited. So that
Well,
was
I
fun.
kind of the way that you get the way that all the interactions and the rapport with everything, it felt like you guys kind of had like the Coen brothers kind of like I imagine like when I saw two directors, I'm like, okay, I always go to the Coen brothers whenever I see two directors on there because those guys they they both know what the vision is and they're totally
Mhm.
cool with the other guy adding little details and is something that the other guy just said, but they
Oh yeah.
coalesce. And so I just imagine you guys on set kind of helping sculpt this world.
For sure. I definitely think we have a similar relationship. Nick and I have known each other since we were 10 years old.
Mhm.
So we know, we met in the 5th grade and we've been making little videos like on YouTube and stuff since then. And yeah, we both kind of trust each other to make creative decisions here, throughout the process because we know that in the end we have a very similar vision and like whatever, like we trust each other to make those choices and to put things in because we know it'll be what we pretty much what we want anyway.
Well, it was cool, the whole timeless television treasures. It was like one of those masterpiece theater type of things. And I think
Yeah.
even that,
Exactly.
like, even if you guys continued with that as a series, so it's the same timeless treasures, same host, and then just a new, like you guys talked about, what was the other one? Uh, oh gosh, what was it? They're like coming up next week. It was like,
Oh, Two
It's
in the
two in the
Bush.
bush.
yeah, Two in the Bush. If you made a Two in the Bush movie or a TV show, you know what I mean? You
Right.
got the same host, and then this is the way you guys can play around with genres and go all over the place.
We've thought
Two
about it.
Two in the Bush was actually that. Speaking of Easter eggs, that's a reference to a sketch that Nick made in college with some of our friends.
Yeah.
where he actually made a little short sitcom episode about a sitcom where one of the actresses had to have her face blurred out. And
Dude, that's
It's like,
brilliant because when you make those callbacks to those little inside things, you're alluding to the fact that it's part of the same universe, which I think is
mhm.
just really cool.
It's like co-starring redacted, like everything's blurred out. And the the every segment of the show in between the commercial breaks was the gag always had to do with something with the character's face and you could never see it. It was like the meta joke of it. And then at the very end, the person that they were with, you find out that they were identical twins. So you could see the other person's face the whole time.
Oh,
So
that's
it
brilliant.
didn't matter that it was blurred out.
Oh, that's great. Well, and those little things, like there was a guy in there at the end where he's got the machine guns. And by the way, those guys with the horns and those armor that you did, there's the one guy who speaks in the overdub, which I think is great. You reserved it. Okay, one dude is going to talk in the overdub. And then
Right.
you got each of these particular characters in there that have all their own particular personalities, like the French guy, Christophe. You know, he's like a character out of a Wes Anderson film. And the funny thing is, he's always speaking French. And people just kind of deal with this, like this you know, irritated French guy who's always eating. He's always in the middle of eating, you know. They're, oh, I got a call on the radio. I got to try to, you know, I got to move my baguette out of the way so I can, you know, press that button. Oh, dude, it was just so funny. All these little details that you put in there. Now, how long did it take for you guys to brainstorm something like this? And then the second embedded question is, how much improv did you have on set then? You know, combined with that.
It's
So first question is, how long did it take for you to write it?
Well, we had started writing it, I guess now 2.5 years ago, maybe. We started writing it long before we even knew. So we made this with a program at our school that was an immersive program where we got to collaborate with our school, Ball State University, and with our local PBS station. And we actually got to air it on PBS, which was nice because it was
Brilliant.
a love letter to public
Brilliant.
access. But we when we found out about this program, we were like, well, we should try to do a short film for this. And our first thought was, oh, well, we have that script we've been like writing on the back burner. Let's just actually start focusing on it and kind of flesh it out. So it was, I guess, a culmination of a couple years of, oh, I have this idea. We should add that to that space thing we're doing.
It's cool because I was looking up your YouTube channel, the BSU Tonight,
Mhm.
which is just really, really cool. And I think like when you get in a flow of doing something like that, you probably create such a shorthand kind of language that when it comes time for something like Constellation Quest, you already kind of have these frames of references and probably could shoot it. Did you end up shooting it pretty quick?
Yeah. I mean, if you want to talk about our oh, you're muted. But
Yeah,
yeah, if you
sorry,
want
I
to
got
talk
it. I
about our
got it.
production.
Yeah, sorry, my mistake. Yeah, we shot this in no time. We yeah, when we worked on BSU Tonight, we were used to churning out 30-minute episode with packages and everything within the span of 2 weeks.
Incredible.
Which when you're in college is a lot of work to do. So, we use that when we pitch this show to our the higher ups in this program. We're like, look, we know what we're doing. We're used to making all this stuff on such a short notice, on such a short budget. And thankfully, we got all of them to trust us with this kind of thing. We had
Wow.
in total, I think, plus like the special effects day was like 10 days of shooting
Yeah.
for the whole thing. And then we didn't have time for reshoots because COVID happened and everything locked down. So
We finished filming the weekend before our campus went online fully.
Whoa. Wow. So then you just spent the time during COVID just like editing it together?
Yeah, and
Yes.
we were supposed to have really nice computers that they had just bought for the program that were on campus,
Whoa.
and instead we used Eamon's 2016 MacBook Pro to edit the whole thing.
Wow.
Yeah,
Man, that is just so cool because it's like you already probably had the set available to you for BSU Tonight, right? Was that something at your college that you just
Yeah,
had available?
exactly. It was in
We
the
had
same
that
room.
available. Yeah, but we
So,
actually
yeah.
built the set for our spaceship and everything out of like we used part of the money to build it, and we got permission from the PBS station to use their Studio A green screen
Whoa,
and set it all
man.
up on there. Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
man.
We
Wow.
yeah, the whole set, the two of us built a bunch of like the little dials and switches and like the
I
steering
was
wheel.
going to ask about that. Yeah.
That was all stuff that we got from a junkyard, and like we were
So
like ripping
cool.
parts. We were ripping parts out of ambulances and like tractors and stuff, and
That's the
throwing
fun
it all
part
together.
because you find something that looks like a wire or some really interesting looking like piping or something. You go, okay, that's cool. We
Yeah.
can use that thing.
Right.
You know, and it's so cool because this is such a story of doing the best you can with what you got. You had your resources, you saw an opportunity to be able to plug your talents together. Plus you had that idea that was on the back burner and you're like, okay, this is the time. Okay, all right, enter stage, you know, here we go. We're going to put this thing together. And it's awesome because the fact that you didn't have that high-tech equipment, it was cool because you had to then reconfigure your brain as to then what was possible. Because then you're like, okay, we don't have that, but what do we have? And you know, and you bring out your rickety laptop or whatever. You're like, okay, well, this is what we're gonna do then, man. Because then you realize they had far less way back in the day. They had far less to work with, you know. So it's like,
they'd be splicing the film with razor blades. I think, like, you know.
Dude, so you guys, how many screen? I can only imagine you guys probably are very prolific and probably have a whole bunch of screenplay ideas. I'm sure.
Yeah, we have a few. I don't know. It's interesting because like right now we have a
we're focusing on a different, more longer term project.
Right.
Right now, I guess by the time this comes out, what we're talking about will have launched. We're working on a new sketch comedy project.
Awesome.
For YouTube. The YouTube channel is called So Far So Good. And we're doing podcasts. We're releasing sketches every week. And we're also doing a longer form kind of pseudo talk show type program that we're putting together and going to be releasing soon.
It's an entirely scripted talk show. So it's in the format of one, but there's characters that come on, and sometimes we have real guests that they interact with characters.
Wow,
and all of that's
man.
kind of inspired by BSU Tonight because that was something that we knew we'd only have 4 years to do. And then the pandemic happened and it was like, it got cut short early, and it kind of made us, as we're editing Constellation Quest, like, well, how do we get back into sketches? Because this isn't something I'm ready to not do anymore, I guess. But it's interesting. We have a bunch of alumni from BSU Tonight that are actually in pods in New York and Chicago and LA and Atlanta, and they're all making sketches with their groups, and then we're compiling them.
Brilliant, dude. It's like tree branches, you know.
Exactly.
The tribe is just growing. You have that many more resources now, which is just fantastic. I wanted to say what you guys were doing reminded me a lot of, are you guys fans of National Lampoon by any chance?
Yes.
The whole history of that, how they started out as the magazine and they went to the National Lampoon Radio Hour and stuff. There's a really great documentary, if you haven't seen it yet, which I think you guys would love. It's called Drunk, Stoned, Brilliant, Dead. Drunk, Stoned, Brilliant, Dead. Have you seen that yet? It's the whole, it's all about National Lampoon.
I've seen it, and I've seen the fictionalized like biography.
Yes,
a Stupid and Futile Jester.
Good,
I've seen Futile and Stupid Jester. I've never seen the other one.
Dude, I'm so glad that you guys said that. Of course, dude. I had such a vibe that these guys had to have been like you're plugged into that same energy. You know, that same vibe that those guys had, where they're just like, okay, well, how can we transform this thing? Oh, let's do a radio hour. Oh, you know, now, oh yeah, okay, so it's going from magazine to radio hour. Oh, now let's do movies. So it's cool because you guys are using that spirit and that like that improv ability and the ability to just, you know, do the best you can with what you got. And just keep creating. It's so cool because it's going to keep morphing. So just keep playing in more and more into that because you guys are on a roll. You know, I would just from what I've seen so far, you guys are on a roll. And what you guys are plugged into right now are what people don't realize that they're actually trying to obtain. So they spend their whole lives trying to get what you guys already have. They try to get a tribe of people who understand them and they can joke with and, you know, can go absurd humor with. You know, I saw the crazy demo reel that you guys put together, and it was awesome that you did and I remember growing up thinking, wow, you know, why don't they do a Hall & Oates Man-Eater movie? Like, it would make so much sense, a Man-Eater movie. And you guys did a demo and a Hall & Oates production, you know, and it's like the Man-Eater. Oh, dude, it's just brilliant. You guys are plugged into it, man. And I think the more you keep, you know, valuing that and building upon that, oh man, you guys are just your own production company as it is. And so you're becoming the media that you want to see. And that is the key right there. That's the thing that is so exciting to me, is talking to the folks like you guys, finding out your creation process and finding out what are you doing right now with what you have. And
Yeah.
you're like, okay, well, let's see where these crazy ideas go. Next thing you know, you got a Constellation quest on your hands. And what's cool is the fact that it's a fractal of sorts, because you can't tell what's the real stuff and what's the fake stuff. So when I saw that it said PBS on it, I'm like, dude, that'd be hilarious if it actually did play on PBS, but it's awesome that they put the fake PBS thing on there. But now I'm realizing that you actually did play on PBS. So
Right.
it was
And
like,
What's the funniest part about it was, if you want to tell it, but like how it aired.
Oh,
But-
right. Well, and what's funny is that PBS thing that's on that film is a fake PBS thing I made.
Dude,
Directly after our movie.
So
Oh my
after,
God.
They played the real one.
right, because we were in a programming block with 2 other short films.
so
So as a
That's
joke,
great, dude.
I created the whole
That's
public
great.
broadcasting and
That's great.
viewers like you, and
Oh
that was
my
all.
God.
And then immediately as our film ends, they play the real
Oh
viewers
my
like
God.
you, and it was just a
Dude.
repeat.
That is so great, man. Like, what a fun little practical joke. Friend of mischief maker, you know?
But yeah, that was, to go back on what you said about making the media you want to see. Like, I think for me at least, that was definitely something that I had in mind when writing it.
Mhm.
Like, I remember like while editing the film, I was just like, you know, if someone else made this and it came out on like Hulu or something, it might be my favorite show.
Right.
And I wasn't trying to say that to sound cocky, but I'm like, you know, that's I really like this idea, and I'm, you know, it's one of those things where it just kind of felt like it's crazy that no one else had thought of something quite like this before. But
Mhm. And there was definitely inspiration that we took from things like Documentary Now was inspiration for like the
Oh, yeah.
Masterpiece Theater segments
Oh,
and
yeah.
stuff like that. And
Well, it's
there's
so
a-
funny. I like when they go to that planet, the Centipeople, and they seem like something out of like Mad Max or something, like Mad Max Light, you know, like a harmless Mad Max kind of, like the kind of creatures that you'd see out there where they're like fighting over gasoline or whatever, trying to get water. And it was
Yeah.
just so funny because they arrive at this place, and it felt like a cross between the Beyond Thunderdome mixed with like Army of Darkness. You know, we're like, oh, the prophecy said you would show up, you know, and all of a sudden these people are putting their hands all over their faces, and dude, it was just like those little kind of things too were so funny because like you guys did really good with making locations with what you had. And yeah, I was so impressed with the inside of the spaceship. Just really,
yeah, thank you.
really
The-
cool.
oh, thank you.
right behind me, yeah. You can kind of see it.
Oh,
behind
that's
the
great.
scenes
Oh, that's great. Oh,
of,
that's
like, what
cool.
what it looked like. And when we had to do like other sides of the ship, we would just move the panels, the individual like flats in different
Wow.
directions.
yeah, the
Wow.
lighting, because most of the lighting was fixed to the ceiling. So we would film everything from one side of the ship one day, and the next day flip all the flats around and put the rear projection screen in, and then film the other side of the ship on the next
And we just
day.
did the entire
And we just did the same
process,
scenes with a
but
couple different cameras.
a
from
day
side to side.
later.
Movie magic, baby. That's what they say. The old Tarzan movies were like within you know, you just turn in a circle. Okay, this is a brand new location.
Yep.
There's a brand new location. There's a brand, you know. So
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's just within your little area there, and it's crazy what you can get away with, man. And it's like, it's funny because I'm sure you guys watch that and you're like, oh my gosh, remember when we moved that wall? Like you could replay in your brain what you actually went through to make that scene. Whereas the
Right.
casual observer, they have no idea. You know, they're thinking, where did they get that kick-ass set, man?
And like one of these panels actually has another sheet over it that's painted to look like the design, because when you take that off, it's the panel that we had for the screen that was turned sideways and stacked on another panel to get that rear projection.
Dude, that
And
is
then-
great.
effect.
And then the Centipeople's hut is just those same panels that we threw tarps over and painted and put leaves on it and stuff. And it's
Wow, man, you guys were very resourceful. And this is the same kind of thing like the trauma films, like the
Yes.
you know, Lloyd Kaufman stuff.
Yeah.
where, you know, I mean, he's got people. If you've ever read Make Your Own Damn Movie, that's a very
Oh,
good
yeah.
book.
I met Lloyd Kaufman. I got him to sign a copy of the book.
Dude,
so,
that's
yeah.
so, of course.
And we have that copy on set for our comedy show.
Oh, of course, dude. You guys, that's awesome, man. Because you're in that same spirit. And you know, and that's the other thing too. It's like you could get a lot done with just alluding to things. Like you don't even have to have a fully built anything. If as long as you just show a little, okay, yep, okay, whoop, there's that little. We just showed a little piece of a room. We don't have to show the whole room, you know. And you're like, oh, okay, that's the room. That's where that thing happens. So it's like by being resourceful like that, just like what you guys did with moving the panels. Oh, one of the questions that I was curious about is why does the captain have why does he have such a why does he and K8 have like such a bad blood between them? Because he just hates her guts, dude. He hates her.
There was a lot of, we never explained it, and we kind of talked with the actors of like, well, just whatever you think. So I think the person playing Kate, her like head theory is that they used to date. Was her theory for it.
Gotcha.
And then I don't remember what Garrett Looker, the guy who plays Captain Miles, I don't remember what his theory was as to why he didn't like Kate, but whatever it was convincing.
We just thought it was funny that like that Kate, that like Miles really doesn't like her, and the audience doesn't really understand why until the very end when she ruins everything.
Oh, dude.
But one of my favorite things on set is when like we would write stuff like that in that we didn't really have an answer to. We just put it in. We just tried to find what was the funniest. And I'm like, oh, somebody's got to get eaten and he's got to wear a red shirt.
Well, and that was the other thing I was going to bring up too. It was great that you did that Star Trek, you know, allusion to Star Trek in that.
And we like, people on set were just like, our gaffer came up to me and was like, hey, yeah, we've been talking for a while. What's the significance of Elijah in the red shirt? Is that to denote he's like of a higher ranking officer? And I'm like, no, he's the red shirt. Like that's the whole thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like, don't look too deep into it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, it's funny because those little tiny nods. Like there's one part, in fact, when Christoph says Jacques Cousteau, I heard him say Jacques Cousteau and what he was saying, and it was at that moment I'm like, dude, this is great. This is like I felt such a strong Wes Anderson vibe right there in that moment. It was just so cool to see that. What was the other thing that I wanted to talk about? Oh, that was the other funny thing too. Whoops. That wasn't supposed to happen. The other interesting thing was that the captain was like, he reminded me of of Herb from WKRP in Cincinnati. Did you guys ever see WKRP in Cincinnati?
I have not, unfortunately.
It's an old sitcom, and Herb was a guy who worked at this radio station. And
I've heard of this. Sorry, yeah.
Oh yeah, and then Lonnie Anderson, who was there, he was always hitting on her.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and she's like, "Come on, Herb, you know, you're married. Get away from me, Herb." So that's kind of what reminded me of the captain guy, and what's her name? It was just like, get away from me. Yeah. So you guys, when are you starting? When are you starting your new project? Your new incarnation?
Our first sketch video goes up February 5th, and we're going to be posting something every Friday for the foreseeable future. We have a backlog of things already ready. Mm-hmm. Our first show, which is called the So Far So Good Show with Nick and Eamon, will be up Friday, February 12th.
That's cool.
Which I think is out by the time this comes out, right? This is coming on the 21st.
Yeah. Well, it'll be between the this will be between the 19th and the 28th.
Gotcha.
So this will be, you know, we'll have a block that, you know, this will play during that, and then also it'll just be in a room that anybody can see at any time. So
awesome. So yeah, our first episode of our show is out now. It's So Far So Good.
That's great. Wow. Well, you guys, it was such a pleasure talking with you guys. And are there any last pieces of wisdom that you'd like to give to any filmmakers, anyone who's creating things? And
I guess my personal philosophy with making stuff, I guess, is I think an issue with a lot of indie films that come out is people write things that aren't achievable, and it's always good to shoot for what you want, but when keeping in mind while you're writing something that you can make, then you don't have to settle. Like a lot of people like, well, I want to make this, I'll try to shoot this, and if I can't do it, then I'll settle on something less and I'll still like it. Whereas I didn't feel like we settled at all on Constellation Quest because we wrote exactly what we wanted and knew we could achieve it.
And it's so satisfying when you do that. It's so satisfying because then that now becomes an example for the next thing that you create. And you're like, oh, dude, I did that thing. Okay, let's see what happens. We just applied that similar method, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah, I guess I would say part of the same is that, like, especially now when, who knows what kind of film you'd be able to make now with a lot of lockdowns, and, maybe people you would hire as crew can't make it out of their city because it's varied from state to state. I guess, just my advice would be play into your limitations. It's, figure out what you can and can't do and try to make the best version of what you can do with, with what you have.
Wow, you guys, thank you so much. And to those of you who are watching this, check out Constellation Quest. It is so much fun. You'll love it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
KaPow!